Hey everyone, and thanks for jumping back into the cryptoverse. Today, we're going to talk about Bitcoin at the mercy of the stock market. If you guys like the content, make sure you subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up, and also check out the Telegram channel, which you can find a link to in the description below. Now, we saw Bitcoin had a relatively decent start to the day, and it was going relatively well up until we saw going into basically the last hour of traditional markets closing. And what we saw at the very end of the day for traditional markets, we saw the NASDAQ, we saw the S&P, and we saw the Dow Jones all come down significantly. And just to show you what I mean, if we just overlay the NASDAQ here with Bitcoin, both of them have I mean, we've seen this sort of correlation for a while now, but if we zoom in, you can see what I'm talking about. And actually, let's zoom in on like an hourly time frame where you can really see the correlation between them. You'll see when the NASDAQ here is dropping, you'll see Bitcoin is dropping as well. And then they both popped off earlier today, and then they both came down more or less at the same time. And now that traditional markets closed, Bitcoin is actually still going down, even though the traditional markets have closed. And one of the things I wanted to talk about here with the idea of traditional markets, especially showing weakness here in the short term, is that one of the things we know with Bitcoin is that if it is correlated to the stock market, which at least locally it does appear to be somewhat correlated to the stock market, it doesn't mean that it's correlated at all times because it's not. But right now it does appear to be strongly correlated to what say the NASDAQ's doing, what's the S&P doing. And because of that, we have to discuss the implications. Well, what does that mean for 40K? And if you guys have watched this channel for the last week, we've talked about 40K. We've talked about the evidence to suggest why we could hold it. We've also talked about the implications of what if we don't hold it. Again, I don't know if it's going to hold or not. I'm trying to present the evidence both ways. And one idea behind holding it would be that the traditional markets need to show some relative strength. But at least in the short term, the NASDAQ has not really been showing much strength recently. Okay. So we then have to consider if the traditional markets continue to come down, what would that mean for Bitcoin, and what should you be on the lookout for? One thing that we talked about a few days ago was that a lot of times you'll see these major trend shifts in the market occur when there's also a lot of volume in the space. And if we switch this over to the Heikin-Ashi candles, you can see this a little bit better. You'll see the volume that came in over here at this bottom, the volume that came in right here, as well as the volume that came in there. Even the volume that came in at this top, this local top, was somewhat significant. And even what you saw here at 42K was somewhat significant as well. And so I think the thing to think about here is, if we do see some type of cascade below $40,000, right? Like if $40,000 fails to hold and we are not able to hold it and we end up going lower, especially if traditional markets continue to look relatively weak, and we come back down to these levels, then what you want to look for, I think, is you want to look for a lot of volume coming into the space that's a lot different than the background volume that we saw leading up to it. Okay, so again, right now, Bitcoin is now in its 10th week of basically being in a downtrend on these Heikin-Ashi candles, right? This is 10 weeks now in a row of generally moving down. I think we had about 11 weeks over here, but we only had one green week and we have 2 more over here. So this was a total of 13 weeks over here where we were more or less moving down. So far, we're at about 10 weeks of pretty bearish price action for Bitcoin when we've basically just been in a systematic downtrend. And so what we want to talk about is, look, if 40K holds, then great. We're going to go back up to $50,000. Then we'll have to test the bull market support band and see if that holds or not, which is, of course, it's all the way up here. But if it doesn't hold, right, like if 40K does not hold and we move below it, what I would say you need to be on the lookout for is some type of quick sell-off that could be a capitulation type event like we saw in March of 2020, like we saw in May of 2021. You need to be prepared for these types of events. No one knows when they're going to occur. I guarantee you there wasn't a lot of people in crypto back in March of 2020, but even the ones among us who were here, it's not like a lot of people were calling for Bitcoin to have a flash crash and then to completely recover 2 months later. In the same line of thinking, going back to May of 2021, I said back then that we were ahead of schedule, but it's not like I knew we were going to drop that quickly all the way down to 30K. So it's just hard to know exactly when those moves are going to occur. But the point is to say that if 40K fails to hold, this is a big if, right? Crypto is just a bunch of if-then statements. If 40K fails to hold and we get some type of liquidation cascade down, I think one of the things to look for a potential reversal in the trend is a lot of volume coming into the space. And this is what we put out a video a few days ago talking about this idea of it sucks. It absolutely sucks being in one of these downtrends because it's just a slow bleed. And a lot of people would just like to see at least a little bit of green for a few weeks, even if it means we have to come back down just to get some type of relief, you know? But right now, what we're seeing is, we're continuing to come down week after week after week. And so, I think the problem right now is if 40K, if we more or less fall back below $40,000, then you could see a fairly quick sell-off over here. All right. And I don't want people to, to be prepared for that potential event occurring, because if it does occur, then one of the things we've noted in the past is that those events tend to be very attractive buying opportunities for Bitcoin in the event that you get these type of liquidations cascades. They don't happen very often where they're actually substantial. Again, I know some people think that this was a fairly big liquidation cascade back in early December, but as we can see, the volume really just wasn't there. What we really want to see is it, look something like this, where we can then maybe say, all right, we finally shaken everyone out who wants to be shaken out of the market, and we can potentially go back into some, several weeks of green. Until that time, we just remain in our sandbox, and we remain very much at the mercy of the stock market. Okay, so if the stock market shows strength like it did this morning, we saw crypto go up. If the stock market is pulling back, if we see the NASDAQ pulling back, we see the S&P pulling back, we see the Dow Jones pulling back, if all these indices are pulling back, then Bitcoin is likely going to pull back with it. And then furthermore, the dollar is likely going to move higher, which is what the dollar has been doing just over the last few days, as you can see, right? It's back into at least a local uptrend over the last 4 days or so. So we'll certainly keep an eye on this. People keep asking me, do I think 40K is going to hold or not? Look, we've presented the evidence both ways to say these are the reasons why it could hold based on prior evidence. We've also showed evidence, when you look at prior moves in the stock market, to say, well, we could also fail to hold it as well. And then crypto Twitter becomes a game of like, oh, do you think it's going to hold or not? But really, no one knows. And these major support levels, sometimes they hold and sometimes they don't. And we held it at 30K, we held it at 3K, right? We did not hold at 7K over here. We fell below and we had a capitulation. Here, we did not hold at 6K and we fell below and we had a capitulation. So, sometimes the major supports hold, sometimes they don't hold. It's a game of probabilities. You need to be prepared either way. And I think we'll just have to wait and see what the stock market does. Is it going to regain any type of strength anytime soon? Or is it going to continue this massive sell-off that we've seen and send crypto lower from these levels? If you guys like the content, make sure you subscribe, give the video a thumbs up. I'll see you next time. Bye.